Hey there, welcome back to my channel. This time I have a 2000 point battle report for you. This is in preparation for a tournament to be held in Eindhoven in the Netherlands. And the goal of the tournament is to bring lists that can just bash the other list, the opponent. The only important thing is going to be victory points, and there's going to be some secondary objectives where you either have to make sure that one of your own units dies, which is of course interesting. One of the enemy units awards you double victory points. You get extra victory points if your general manages to kill the enemy general in a challenge. And also challenges have to be accepted all times. And the last one is if you have any standards left at the end of the battle, even though I think that's a bit of a strange one amongst all of them. As the focus of the tournament is just to kill as much as you want, as you can. Yeah, so for this tournament I've been making quite a lot of different lists to just see what works best for me. And from my other videos you can already see that I'm trying out Warriors of the Dark Gods and playing around with those. It's a very new army to me, and I'm not used to the playstyle of the Warriors of the Dark Gods. So, well, this battle report is with Dread Elves. You can see my current list here. I think that I had expected for the tournament that a lot of people would bring a list that's just close combat oriented and is not able to deal with very mobile lists very well, because I would anticipate not a lot of people bringing any missile support, as they will probably want to just smack the other person in the face on the table, that is. Yeah, so I thought that this could be a very nice list. You have a captain on a Raptor Chariot with Strider and Movement 8. He can certainly kill already with this setup quite some characters because of the impact hits of the Chariot also. Then for core you have 2 units Stark Riders. They have repeater crossbows. Well, you need 500 points in core. Probably you'll be able to put down a different setup that's more competitive, but also this tournament is a bit more oriented towards the fluff side rather than bringing the nastiest list. So this is a fast cavalry Dread Elf list, which is also a special kind of fluff, right? Then we have 5 Dark Acolytes with Call of Yema and a Champion to provide some magic in the roster. 5 Dread Knights with the Banner of Blood, just because, well, at these low point levels it's more difficult to prevent the opponent from being able to charge. And also this list has 2 units of Dark Raiders to make sure that the Dread Knights can get the charge. And a Hydra to just round the list up. This army list is going to face up against Orcs and Goblins. The Orc and Goblin list you can see now. It's a list that my opponent, well, he's been a big fan of Orc Shamans and Boar Chariots for the past couple of weeks. And yeah, they had hard for the points that they cost. Basically, you get a Boar Chariot and you get a free upgrade to put an Orc Shaman on top of it. Nearly. So yeah, his magic phase, his magic is in that way quite cheap. He is still able to bring magic. He's putting down a lot of models on the table, and this Orc War Boss at 2000 point level is very potent with his paired weapons, Shady Shankin, and also reroll to wound because, well, in a challenge, and having the event make you accept any challenges is really good for this guy to smack down opposing characters. Then he has 2 times 20 orcs equipped with bows, and once with paired weapons, once with spears. Mangler's Quick, which is going to completely ruin people's days at 2000 points. Snotling Pumpwagon, well, kind of same story as the Mangler's Quick. A Giant, which is also a good choice at 2000 points, and 2 Scurers, just in case anything very big comes his way. The Scurers, well, even if they hit just once in any of the games, they're gonna bring back their points. So you can see the Orc and Goblin army here. I forgot to take a picture of the Dark Elf army, unfortunately, but we'll get to that next time. So then for the battle, so you can see that we're playing on a smaller board for this. Yeah, so at the tournament the board size is set to 4 feet by 4 feet. This is 2/3 of normal playing table, so even if you compare it against 4,500 points, we only play with less than half of the points, so you still have plenty of space for most armies on the table. Yeah, so for deployment I start with my 2 Dark Rider units, and they have still Vanguard, so I can still move them around. I put 1 unit on the left flank. Yeah, maybe that would not have been the best choice, but I thought, well, up there they are behind the forest, so I can claim soft cover at least with my Vanguard. And then my opponent decided to drop all and take the first turn, which I can imagine against the army that I'm playing. I don't think it's good for me to take the first turn in this matchup, because he didn't put down his Mangler Squig yet, and I need to either shoot it away, magic it away, or just go stand on it with a Dark Rider unit. It's a shame if I have to sacrifice with Dark Rider units, because they are very valuable in this game. So that's it for deployment. You can see that the Hydra and well, anything in my army basically gets soft cover at this point because of either woods or the field that I could deploy in, which I was very lucky with. Yeah, so the skewers of my opponent are gonna hit my Hydra or Chariot probably at least once a game, and that's gonna hurt. So they force me to be quick a bit. Otherwise, maybe I could have just considered magicking him out with my occultism magic. And at this point I didn't really realize that his orcs had indeed bows, because the models he uses, they are actually not fitted with bows, so I just I saw it in the army list, but I didn't think about it. So my Vanguard move that you can see, yeah, it's it's really stupid to do, especially because I knew he was going to get the first turn probably. The bonus for getting the first turn at this event is only capped at +2. So even if you drop first, you might not have the first turn in the end, but your chances of getting it are quite high. Yeah, so my opponent, he takes the first turn. But before my opponent gets the first turn, I still have to do my Vanguard moves. This is where I'm going to do the Vanguard move of my middle Dark Riders to the center of the board. Because I didn't realize that my opponent had bows on his orcs. Yeah, this was clearly a mistake. Well, this is why on tournaments I often ask my opponents to confirm that units cannot shoot or cannot cast magic, or but in this case I was just looking at the models, and I knew that in the army list he had bows, but I just forgot about it. So you can see that my opponent didn't take any first turn charges, even though the giant and the boar chariot, they are on the hill both, so they have a reroll in the charge range, making them their charge range very far indeed, especially when coupled with the Wag. The Nashor Wrecking team just moves up on the right, closer to my Dread Knights. And yeah, I realized I shouldn't have put my Dread Knights here. Yeah, so lately I've been noticing that I am rushing a little bit more through the deployment at my games. I definitely shouldn't. Because, well, my expectation was that, well, my magic could probably deal with the Nashor Wrecking team. That's obviously only possible when the acolytes are closer to the wrecking team than they are. And anyway, my opponent deployed first, so I was just screwing up basically. Yeah, so first mistake already, putting the Dark Riders in range of the bows. Then the second mistake, not putting the acolytes closer to the wrecking team. Because these Dark Riders in the middle were going to be the ones that were going to go on the wrecking team just to take care of it. But now starting the battle, I'm already some some unit down, and then, well, the wrecking team is gonna wreak havoc. Yeah. So here I try to move away with my Dread Knights whilst still being able to zone the field a bit um, in the middle, but probably it's not sufficient. The chariot also comes out of the soft cover. It has to go over at some stage. So I should have just gone over the left flank with my entire army, possibly. But that is also the place where my opponent has the hill and can outcharge me. So yeah, this terrain setup is not ideal for me. But I should have focused probably more on getting rid of the wrecking team. Possibly forcing it into a stalemate where my opponent would have to come forward with his bows, and I would have to lean back out of his range, slowly trying to snip away some orcs, or, well, first shooting at the wrecking team, obviously. But I didn't, and that, well, yeah, that's a mistake. So my opponent's turn, he cannot charge reliably anywhere. So the Snotling Pump Wagon, that's also still on the board, it's on the left flank, goes forward, and my Dark Riders up there on the left flank are getting in a bit of a more dangerous position. But yeah, they do affect the movement of my opponent, and they're already doing a good thing at that. Just general harassing, and yeah, they're a good unit at doing that. Unfortunately, my opponent is able to put a couple of wounds on my chariot. I believe he puts 3 wounds on the chariot, so he practically takes it out of the game. Some Dark Riders fall, but that's, well, not really the worst of my concerns. And then, yeah, these games are very quick, so he, I believe, well, this is his shooting still, but then afterwards we go into my my turn. He still manages to pick off 2 Dark Acolytes, which, yeah, with these orcs they hit on. They moved, they were on long range, so they hit on 7s through the forest. They still managed to pick off 2 Acolytes, which is a lot. And yeah, there are just 3 guys left now. I felt still like I needed to charge because I was not going to outlast this shooting. Ideally, with 5 guys, I would have been more confident to charge them into an orc block. They don't look like they are a very hard-hitting unit, but in the end, with 10, well, 11 because it's the champion, strength 4 attacks with poison and lightning reflexes, higher weapon skill, they do dish out quite some damage, especially if you have some magic to support it, so you can just roll 5 dice on your Breath of Corruption to try and take out more models or get some more overkill. Yeah, so this is how I moved up. Otherwise, my champion gets stuck in a challenge with his character, and I don't manage to kill it with my. I believe I get Breath of Corruption off. But he also doesn't manage to kill my champion, luckily. So I'm still stuck in combat with the orcs. And yeah, it isn't looking too bad at this point, in the sense that it could be worse. But yeah, he still has his spare chariot to charge my Dread Knights. I can't take the charge with these guys of a chariot. Yeah, it hurts a lot, but that means that they are fleeing away from the chariot. They're gonna have to rally the next turn. Basically, they're already dead now. But if I had given him the charge onto the Red Knights, yeah, I'm looking back at this and I made just a lot of mistakes. Yeah, I'm not used to playing this army anymore. So and also the scale is affecting the play quite substantially. Because I'm used to playing this army at 4,500 points, and I learned that at 4,500 points you can't block out all the charge angles of your opponent, but you can make some lanes where you want your units to flee, which is fine. But at that level, the list also has the features to take out small low wound count models like a wrecking team. That really makes it easier to play. So at these small point values, lists like this are way much more unforgiving. And I should have taken way more time to plan out my turn and to be really thinking about what I was placing where. And yeah, in the end, I don't have as many pieces as my opponent, so he can just play some movement games with any of his units. Whilst for me, it's getting really difficult. It's also affected by the fact that I lost this one Dark Rider unit at the start of the game. But I feel like the list that my opponent is playing is quite a potent list at this point value. So this my captain on Chariot has to get out of the way there. Also, the Hydra managed to to take charge of a giant and a Snotling pump wagon and beat it to shit. So next turn I charge with the Hydra on his orcs and they flee away. The captain charges the chariot and then redirects into the orcs. His general manages to kill my Dark Acolyte champion, and my chariot manages to kill something like 8 orcs or even 9 orcs, which is way more than I had expected. Yet he still stays steadfast, he makes his test and everything is well for the orcs. Which I found obviously a shame, because if he had not made the test, then the game would have looked entirely different. So his turn, he rallies most of his units, and then he basically faces in to try and kill more of my units. So the wrecking team, I don't know if it goes through my knights this turn, and no, it doesn't, because he had a low roll. So he shoots at my Hydra with his bolt throwers, and he manages to take the Hydra off the table. He also manages to kill the captain on the chariot with his general. This guy is a beast on these 2000 point levels when you have to accept the challenges. With his offensive weapon skill of 7, with lightning reflexes, it's incredible. So in my last turn, I only have my Dread Knights left. I go into the terrain to make sure that the Mangler's Quake also has to go into the terrain. In the process of walking into the terrain, I lose 2 Dread Knights. And in his turn, he actually he tries to put the Mangler's Quake in, and the Mangler's Quake dies to the terrain. So that plan worked. And then the Dread Knights, they charge into the Orcs, get smacked down by his Lord, and yeah, that's the game. Yeah, so quick one. So from this battle, the Orcs and Goblins score way more points than the Dread Elves. Yet in this event, I don't think there's anything that can be called a loss, because you just score points. Obviously, if the other person scores more points than you do, then basically the other person has won. But anyway, yeah, so I thought that this Dread Elf list was quite strong on paper, but it's very vulnerable to any ranged output of your opponent, obviously. So if you can bring the tools to your opponent unharmed, then it can hit very hard. But yeah, maybe if there's going to be a lot of balanced lists, just like the Orcs and Goblin list of my opponent, it's in for a more tough time, even though I could play it way better. But the fun thing about these small battles is that you can just finish them in half an hour, 1 hour. and it's still quite enjoyable, and you can learn a lot from it, as you can see from this video. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.